Hello, friends, and welcome to The Hanged Man in the Moon. As you can see, I'm not really set up for a video. I just thought I'd hop on, as they say, and do a VR to Peekaboo Rose, who is doing a VR to somebody else. And I'll link Peekaboo Rose's VR in the description below. And this is a VR called WTF, what the is a soul deck. And I thought I'd like to add my voice to the conversation. And first off, let me say that I agree 99.999% with Peekaboo Rose. Her ideas and her explanation of her understanding of what a soul deck is almost perfectly in alignment with mine. I think I'd just like to add some other information and perhaps a different angle to it. First off, the first video, which started this off, I believe, was talking about the idea of a soul deck being clickbait, which Peekaboo Rose disagrees with, and so do I. I've never seen it used as what I would consider clickbait. For me, clickbait would be if, for example, US Games or what's another publisher, Llewellyn, were to come out and say, here's your soul deck, come buy it now. That would be clickbait. Or if a creator were to come on and say, I've just created a new soulmate deck, that would be clickbait. Or if a YouTube creator were to come on and say, is this your clickbait? I mean, is this your soul deck? That would be clickbait. But to me, when somebody comes on and says, I think I've just found my soul deck, I don't think that's clickbait. Unless they were to say, I think I've just found my soul deck, and then go on to say, yeah, I found this deck, it's interesting, maybe you should check it out, I don't know, what do you think? But if someone comes on and says, I think I've just found my soul deck, I feel really connected to this deck, I believe them. They're not selling anything. They might get another subscriber, maybe, but that's not really what I would consider true clickbait. So I don't think it's clickbait. And I do believe that there are such things as soul decks. I have a soul deck. Here's where perhaps my ideas are a little bit different. I have soul decks. So what do people usually mean when they say soul deck? I've thought of three things that most people say. One is that they know immediately. They see the deck and it's, that is my soul deck. Number two is there is only one. There is only one soul deck. And number three is that it never changes. I agree with two and disagree. I disagree with two and I agree with one of them. Can you guess which ones? And I think perhaps the confusion around soul deck, or the ideas around soul deck, what I believe is confusion, is the same as what I believe is the confusion around the idea of soul mate. So this is where I think the topic expands a little bit. Most of us think very similar things about what a soulmate is. You see that person and bang, you know that they're your soulmate. You know that there is only one. That is my one and only soulmate. And that feeling never changes. And I think those ideas around soulmate are also incorrect. Personally, I think soulmates are people with whom our souls connect. Our souls are mated to another soul. But there's not only one. There's not only one. Putting that kind of limitation on soul connection is, I think, against the idea of this universe, is against the foundation of this universe, which is a universe of abundance. I don't believe there is only one soulmate. Certainly, some people find a soulmate of their possible soulmates, choose that one soulmate and decide to perhaps get married to them or live with them or form a long partnership with them. And that's wonderful, that's beautiful. And we can call that person a soulmate, certainly. But requiring that that be the only possibility for what a soulmate is, I think, limits the idea of soulmate unnaturally. A person could be mated, have a soulmate connection with one of their parents or both of their parents, with their mother or their father. A person could have a soulmate connection with a friend or a frenemy. I think the soulmate connection is much more expansive than we give it credit for. Also, I think that the idea that you have to know immediately is also incorrect. Certainly, there are some people that we see and we feel that instant connection. Love at first sight. That exists. I know it exists. I've experienced it. However, I don't think that is the only possibility. And limiting it to love at first sight, again, unnaturally limits the abundance of this universe, the abundance of all that exists. Some soulmate connections are right there, instantaneous. Some of them grow over time. Some of them you get to know someone, you start to feel comfortable with them, you realize maybe there's something more, you realize the connection gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you realize, oh my God, this person is my soulmate. That happens. Certainly that happens. Sometimes your idea is completely reversed. Now, I had a friend, the first time they met their husband, they were enemies at first sight. There was something about each other. There was a connection. There was certainly a connection, but it was an antagonistic connection at first. But then something happened, and whatever resistance that they were feeling dropped away, and they realized, oh my God, I'm in love with this person. It doesn't have to be that instantaneous connection, and it can be a reversal, I believe, and I've seen it happen. So that idea that it's an immediate connection, I think, is also unnaturally limited. Now, it never changes. Yes and no. I believe yes and no. A soulmate connection, it will never change. Yes and no. The base connection, the soulmate connection, no, does not change. Our feeling about the connection does change, certainly will change. It can run hot and cold. We can get into a fight. We can get into a big fight with our soulmate. That doesn't mean that that person is no longer our soulmate, but rather that we are right now in an antagonistic relationship. A soulmate connection is a connection for eternity, I believe. And so again, there's not just one. There are many soulmate connections. Each time we connect on a soul level, we have developed a new soulmate relationship that we would carry from life to life. And we will discover new soulmate connections in another life, in another life. The number of soulmate connections that each one of us have, I believe, is practically infinite. And at any moment of any given day, our emotional reaction to our soulmates can be different. It can be antagonistic, it can be blissful love, it can be irritation, it can be boredom. Seeing the same face every day for 25, 35, 45, 50 years, there are moments when it could feel a little bit boring. That does not negate the truth of the soul connection. I believe the same things are true for tarot decks. Not that you're mated for life like a living being, but one, you know immediately. I don't think you have to know that your connection with the deck is there from the moment you see it, or the moment you touch it, or the moment you click buy, or the moment that you read with it the first time. Some decks grow on you. Some decks need a little bit of interaction and some time to to create a history that creates a connection. And some of them, yes, the moment you see them, perhaps the moment you see an image of them, suddenly, pow, oh my God, there's a realization of, I feel something with that deck. Certainly that's also possible. Or the first time you crack open a box or shuffle the deck, you feel something. Certainly that's possible, but none of those are necessary for it to be a soul deck connection. There is only one. I totally disagree with that. There is not necessarily only one. I have at least 3 that I can name. And I will, well, let me name them. So one of them is my Soleon Tarot, which was the second tarot deck that I ever had when I was a teenager. And my relationship with that deck is hot and cold, frankly. I will never get rid of it. It's in a place of honor. It's in a special wood box. It's in a silk scarf. And because that's what we did back then. And it is my soul deck. But there are times when I can read with it and I'm really into reading with it. And there are times when I just don't want to touch it because it's a little bit disturbing. Another soul deck is the Spacious Tarot, which I see myself in. I see myself in because I got the first edition. In fact, I got 2 of the first edition because I did not want the corrected deck. There's one card in the Spacious Tarot that has a misspelling in it, which I feel is me. I am a misspelling. I have a little bit of what we call dyslexia. And so that one letter switch in the 3 of Pentacles, which came out Penacles, sings to me, speaks to me, makes me feel that, yes, you and I are similar. And also being able to place myself in the deck makes me feel even more connected to this Spacious Tarot. It's a beautiful deck, and I feel a soul connection with it. Another one is a facsimile of the Nicholas Conver deck made by Grimaud. It's a light beige box. The facsimile is not all that great, frankly. The first time I got it, I opened it up and I was disappointed. I almost wanted to throw it away, but I didn't. I purchased it, frankly, to be a study deck because as I got back into tarot, I wanted to have one deck of each system that I would just put side by side and compare and look at the different cards, look at the different images from the Thoth, from Rider-Waite-Smith, Pamela Colman, and from Tarot de Marseille. And I chose a Conver deck. And this Conver deck I got and I hated it the moment I saw it. Practically hated it. And so I stuck it. I tried working with it. I tried studying with it, and I gave up. I don't even want to look at these cards. The deck was a hindrance to my study. So I put it in a little velour bag, and I stuck it in the back of a shelf, and I put it away. And then recently, I pulled it back out and said, let's take a look at it. And suddenly, the feeling was different. I loved the deck. I absolutely loved the deck. And so now I realized, yes, that was a soul connection, which was one of those, I hate you at first, and then I realized, no, it wasn't I hate you, it was a connection. It was a connection there. And of course, I'm sorry, there's one more I have to add. My borderless Centennial Pamela Colman Smith deck is another soul deck for me. I love the coloration. I love working with it. I love the feel of it. I love shuffling it. And it's in my section right next to my facsimile of the Nicholas Conver. They're side by side. And perhaps even now my Thoth deck, my first real Thoth deck, is now growing to become a soul deck for me. I'm using it as a daily draw for meditation and to really get into the Thoth system. So those decks, I would say, are now my soul decks. Yeah, my Soleon, my Spacious Tarot, my facsimile of the Nicholas Conver from Grimaud, my Pamela Colman Smith, Rider-Waite-Smith, borderless Centennial, and my big old I can throw it away if I wanted to, because it's not rare. I could get it again any moment, my Thoth deck. And someday I hope to get, is it called version C? The greenie of the Thoth deck, but that's another conversation entirely. So those are my soul decks, plural. And I feel a connection with those decks. And I have many other decks that I have and I use frequently, and I rotate in and out, but those decks are always basically there by my side at my, my bedside table. And so I have mine. Do you have yours? Do you have a soul deck? If you don't, that's okay. You don't have to have a soul deck. Not every marriage has to be with a soul mate. Not every person has to have a soul deck. It's not a necessity by any means. And perhaps you don't, maybe you don't, maybe you do have a soul deck and you don't even realize it yet. One thing I would caution each and every one of us against is the search for a soul deck, that frantic search for finding a soul deck, spending your free time searching YouTube videos and websites and Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all of that to find your soul deck because you've got to have it because other people have it. Why do I say don't search for a soul deck? Do not, never, 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 because just like searching for a soulmate, just like searching for enlightenment, it's the search that is the hindrance. The moment you hold something up so high that it becomes an unattainable goal. Searching for enlightenment, it's the search that stops the possibility of becoming enlightened. It's when you give up the search that it happens. Searching for a soulmate. It's, are you my soulmate? Are you my soulmate? Are you my soulmate? It's that search that is the hindrance. It blocks our progress. It blocks our possibility of realizing who actually might be our soulmates. And the same thing is true for a soul deck. It's the search, the desperate search that stands in our way. Needing to find that one deck, not realizing that perhaps you might already have a soul deck in your collection and are ignoring it because you didn't feel that special bing, zing, wow feeling. Maybe one of your decks in your collection is one of those slow burning, growing soul deck connections. Who knows, perhaps you got your soul deck and you gave it away because you felt irritated by it at first. I'm not saying go back and get every deck that you traded away or that you gave to somebody else. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it's that search that prevents us from really feeling our connection with all of the decks around us. So please, please do not search for a soul deck. Allow it to reveal it to yourself if it's there. And it might be there. It might already be there in your collection. If you have 3 decks, one of those might already be your soul deck, if you allow it to be. You don't need 100. You don't need 500 decks to know that you've got your soul deck somewhere in there either. You could have 1, 2, 3 decks, 5 decks. And in that collection, there might be a hidden soul deck waiting to reveal itself to you. So that is what I feel about soul decks. What do you think? I'd love to hear from you. If this meant anything to you, if you felt stimulated mentally, spiritually, emotionally stimulated by it, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Hit the alarm bell if you haven't done that so you get notifications when I upload videos. And share this with somebody who you think might be desperately searching for a soul deck and you think might want to rethink that idea. And comment below. What do you think? Do you have a soul deck? Oh, by the way, the soul decks that I mentioned, if you're interested in seeing those, I have those all in my Tarot Journeys, my Tarot Journey video, which I'll put a card up here if you want to go check that out. Right now, I don't have them with me. I'm here in my office. My soul decks that I described are at home next to my bed. So, friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.